Hello my friend and welcome back to Survival Superhero. Now this right here is the Bluetti AC180P portable power station, which is an upgraded version of the AC180. Now it does support solar charging and it's made for outdoor activities such as camping, RV, fishing and things like that. And Bluetti says that it's great for powering coffee makers, heaters, air conditioners, CPAP machines, and other electronic devices. But is it? Is it really? Or is it just a giant piece of garbage that you should avoid at all costs? Well, that is exactly what we are going to find out in this video. I'm going to put this thing through a bunch of rigorous tests to find out if this is worth your hard-earned dollars. I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know to make an informed decision about the AC180P. So let's get straight into this video, starting with the price. Now the AC180P retails at $1,300, which boils down to 90 cents per watt hour. And right now it's actually on sale for $1,100, but that price could change. So hit the link in the description below to get the most current price or to purchase one. Now Bluetti also offers buy now pay later service, 30-day money back guarantee, 5-year hassle-free warranty, and lifetime customer support. Now let's look at the specs and the features. Now it does have a lithium iron phosphate battery which gives you 3,500 plus cycles until it reaches 80% original capacity. It's also got 11 output ports for multiple device charging at once. It's got 1800 watt AC output, 1440 watt hour capacity, 2700 watt output in powerlifting mode, and you can charge it in about an hour with AC charge, and you can charge it under 3 hours with a 500 watt solar charge. It's got 5 USB ports, including one USB-C 100 watt and 4 USB-A 5 volt 3 amp. It's also got one 12 volt 10 amp cigarette lighter port, and it's got 4 AC ports at 120 volts and 800 watt pure sine wave. It's also got a 15 watt wireless charging pad on the top. And there's 4 ways you can recharge it. There's AC, solar, car, and generator. Now on the side is the 1440 watt AC input, and it'll go from 0 to 80% charge in 45 minutes, and it'll give you a full charge in about an hour. And there's also a circuit protector and a grounding pole connection on the side as well. On the front, we've got the solar panel and cigarette lighter input. And there's a ventilation area on both sides for the internal fan to keep the unit cool. You've also got smart control and smart monitoring with the free Bluetti app that we will look at coming up. The unit itself measures 13.39 by 9.72 by 12.48 inches. And it weighs 35.16 pounds or 12.4 kilograms. So it is a little bit on the heavy side. You wouldn't want to hike 2 or 3 miles with it, but it is easy enough to carry short distances. Now let's see what comes in the box. So it comes with an instruction manual, a box of cords that I'll tell you about here in a second, and of course here is the unit itself. And here's the cables that it comes with. We've got a simple AC charging cable, which is very nice because there's no giant brick charger, it's just a simple cable. We've got a car charging cable that goes into the cigarette lighter, and we've got the MC4 solar charging cable. And finally, we've also got a grounding screw. Now let's try out the AC outlet charging. So here's what the charging process looks like. You just plug one end of the charging cable into the side of the AC180P, plug the other end into an AC outlet, and boom, we are charging it up. Again, it takes about an hour to charge from 0 to 100%. Now let's take a look at the solar charging. Now if you're using 500 watts of solar panel input, it takes it from 0 to 50% charge in 70 minutes. Now I do not have a 500 watt panel, but I do have this 100 watt panel from All Powers. Now Bluetti says that the AC180P works well with other companies' solar panels, so let's see if that's true. Now right now it's around 3 o'clock p.m. and the sky looks like this. There aren't really any clouds covering the sun, so we're getting pretty good sunlight. So, is it working? Yes, it is. You can see that we're pulling in about 36 watts right now. Now again, this is around 3 o'clock p.m., so we should get more watts if we were using it during peak sunlight time around noon to 1. And again, this is also only a 100 watt solar panel. You can use up to 500 watts solar input. Now let's take a look at the car charging. So you just plug it into the cigarette lighter and you start the engine. And you can see we're pulling in 93 watts right now. So it's going to take over 16 hours to charge it from 0. And with the engine off and just the car battery, we're getting 49 watts, and that's going to take over 36 hours to charge from 0. Pass-through charging. Now this unit does have pass-through charging, so if we plug this 1500 watt space heater into the AC180P, and then plug the AC180P into an AC outlet to charge it, we can charge the AC180P and run the heater using the AC180P at the same time. Now let's check out the app. So here's what the app looks like. In the top right, you can see that we are currently charging the unit with AC power at 1.5 kilowatts coming in. And if we had solar charging going, that would appear in the top left. The bottom left shows if we are charging things via DC, and the bottom right shows the AC output. We can use the app to turn the DC and the AC output on or off. And let's hit the settings here in the top right. You can view a user manual right from your phone, which is very useful. Then farther down, we can change the charging mode. Now there's 3 different charging modes. We've got standard, turbo, and silent, and we will look closer at these in the next part of the video. There's also a powerlifting mode that allows you to run high drain pure resistance loads up to 2700 watts, even though the rated output power remains at 1800 watts. We will also test this out a little bit later as well. We've got an eco mode that makes it so the AC and DC outputs automatically turn off after a while if the AC180P is bearing low or no loads. And the auto sleep lets you put the AC180P to sleep after a certain amount of time to save battery power. Here in the advanced settings, we can switch the AC output to either 50 Hz or 60 Hz. And the grid self-adaptation mode ensures that the AC180P has a stable and continuous AC input, and it allows the AC180P to adapt to voltage fluctuations and waveform distortion of an AC source. Now let's check out these 3 charging modes. So the silent mode charges the slowest at about 260 watts, and it takes about 7 hours to fully charge. The standard mode charges faster at around 750 to 850 watts, and that takes about 2 hours to fully charge. And then the turbo mode charges the fastest at around 1460 watts, and it takes a little over an hour to fully charge. Now, here's the thing about these charging modes. Using turbo can actually shorten the life of the battery, so you don't want to use it all the time if you don't need to. Here's the official word from Bluetti about how this works. Turbocharging comes in handy when you need AC180P to be replenished in short time. Standard charging is more friendly to the AC180P's battery, and silent charging gives you quiet, low power operation for long battery life. So the battery will last longer if you use silent or standard modes. So I just want to give you a quick heads up on that. Now let's see how loud it is when you're charging it. So first, here's what it sounds like with the Bluetti totally off. Okay, now we are plugged in and charging via AC outlet. First, let's try out the silent charging mode. Here's what that sounds like. Okay, now here's what standard mode sounds like. And And finally, here's what the turbo mode sounds like. Now here they all are again, without me talking, back to back. Now to summarize, silent mode is totally silent. Standard mode has a low noise, and turbo mode is a little bit noisy, but you can easily talk over it while it's running. And personally, I could definitely sleep with this thing running on turbo. It's comparable to running a small size fan in the background. Now let's test out the UPS function. The AC180P automatically provides a UPS or uninterruptible power supply in case the power goes out. So let's test that out with this CPAP machine, which is something you definitely want to keep running if the power goes up. We've got the Bluetti plugged into the AC wall outlet, and the CPAP is plugged into the Bluetti. So the power is running from the AC outlet, passing through the Bluetti, and then going to the CPAP. So let's start the CPAP. And now let's unplug the Bluetti from the AC wall outlet. And you can see that the CPAP is still running. So this proves that the CPAP would still be running even if the power went out. And just to prove to you that there's no shenanigans going on here, here is what would have happened if the Bluetti did not provide uninterruptible power. You can see the CPAP would have died. Now let's test it out to see how long it will run different devices. So first, let's test it with some camping items, starting with the CPAP. Now some portable power supplies don't have enough juice to keep your CPAP running all night long, which is obviously a scary idea. If you are out in the middle of the woods camping with a CPAP, you definitely want a power supply that you can count on to keep you breathing all night. So let's find out how long the AC180P will run this CPAP. You can see it looks like it will run this CPAP at over 60 watts for over 15 hours, which would definitely last all night. So it looks like this would be good for at least one night in the woods. Next, let's try this heater. It will run this 1500 watt space heater on the highest setting for almost an hour. And on the low setting, it will run for almost 2 hours. Now how about a microwave? Believe it or not, yes, it will actually run a large microwave like this one. You can see it's actually pushing 2000 watts, but it's still not overloading it, even though the capacity is 1800 watts. Now I will show you what you have to do to overload it coming up. And you can see it'll run this microwave for 0.7 hours, which is more than long enough to heat up multiple food items. You could actually defrost a whole ham or a 7-pound turkey on a full charge. What about this toaster? Yes, you can even run a dirty old toaster like this one on high power for about an hour. How about a mini fridge? Yes, you can run a decent sized mini fridge like this one, pulling in about 78 watts for over 13 hours. Now let's try a fan. You can run a pretty good sized fan like this one for between 6 to 8 hours, depending on if you're running the fan in high, medium, or low. Now let's try a laptop. It will run a laptop like this for over 29 hours. Now let's test out the wireless charging. We're going to test this out with the Sonim XP10 rugged smartphone, which has got a pretty thick case, and the wireless charging does work pretty well even with this thick case. I will say that sometimes you do have to move the phone around a little bit on the charging pad to get it to charge, but it certainly does work. And you can use the 15-watt wireless charging pad to charge your phone for almost 87 hours. 4 phones at once. So another thing you could do is you could plug in 4 phones at once to the AC charging ports. Now, it's only pulling in 37 watts for some reason, but it would charge these 4 phones for over 24 hours. And honestly, you could plug in 5 more phones into the DC outputs as well and charge 10 phones at once if you're including the wireless charging pad on top. Okay, now let's test it out with some items that you might use at home, starting with this shop vac. You could use it to run this shop vac for about an hour. Vacuum. You could run this vacuum for almost 3 hours. Air compressor. You can run a large air compressor like this one for over an hour. Another thing this would be great for is work lights. Now you can run some work lights like these for about 2.5 hours. Now let's try plugging in as many devices as we possibly can. We've got the Sonim XP10 on the wireless charger, and now let's plug in an electric razor, 3 smartphones, and a flashlight into the USB ports. Now let's plug in a coffee maker, the Joule portable electric kettle, a laptop, and the 1500 watt space heater into the AC outlets. And it is currently running all of this stuff at once. And you can see it could run all of these things for over an hour. Now the heater is on the lower setting, so let's see what happens if we switch the heater into high. It actually has not overloaded yet, but let's give the heater some more time to fully heat up. Now let's plug the 11th device into the cigarette lighter. It's the Carpuride W707 infotainment head unit. And now we are running 11 devices at once. Now I did run this test multiple times, and I will say that sometimes it did not overload. But sometimes it did, as you can see here. Now to be fair, all of these devices should definitely overload it, because this is well over 1800 watts of power being drawn here. So kudos to the AC180P for being able to handle all this as well as it did. And that was without the use of the powerlifting mode. So what is powerlifting? I'm very glad you asked. Power heating mode allows the AC180P to run high power devices up to 2700 watts, while the rated output still remains 1800 watts. So this is designed for things like space heaters, hair dryers, electric blankets, etc. Now they do also say that you should not use this to run an air conditioner or a washing machine. So let's test this out. Again, this heater runs at 1500 watts, and these work lights run about 500 watts. So that's about 2000 watts. And again, the AC180P can run up to 1800 watts, so this should overload it. So let's fire it up and see what happens. Now it is actually running both of these just fine even without the power lifting on. You can see it's pulling over 2000 watts output right now, and it has not overloaded even though it's rated at 1800 watts. But let's see what happens when we turn the powerlifting on. And to do that, you open up the app on your phone and hit powerlifting. You can see here when we turn powerlifting on, the watts drop from over 2000 to under 1800. So again, you could use this to run up to 2700 watts. Now, I do want to mention that when we do switch the powerlifting mode on, the work lights dim a little bit, as you can see here. You can see the brightness changing as I toggle the powerlifting mode on and off. Now, that's not a huge deal, but I did want to mention it. So, here are the pros and cons. First, the pros. You can run heavy loads from heaters and microwaves that lots of other lower capacity personal power supplies will not run. It will run anything up to 1800 watts. You can run up to 2700 watts with the powerlifting mode. You can run 11 things at once. The lithium iron phosphate battery gives you 3500 plus recharge cycles until it reaches that 80% original capacity. You can turbocharge it in about an hour, and you can charge it silently if you need to. As far as the cons go, I've really only got one, and that is that it is a bit heavy. Again, it's 35 pounds or 16 kilograms, but I don't really see that as a huge problem. Now you can hit the link in the description below to check out the Bluetti AC180P for more information or to purchase one. Well, what do you think of the AC180P? Are you going to buy one? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please share this video if you found it helpful, and then you can click right here for another great outdoor tech video, and I will see you there.